You're welcome. Coach, how you doing?
Good morning. Roll Tide.
Okay, at this time, we will take questions from the audience. We'll start up front.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Good morning, AP.
AP Stidham, WHEP. Coach, with regard to this team, what was your scheduling philosophy?
Well, definitely, we feel like we have an experienced team returning. So we go 7 out of the first 10 on the road, as you can see. So that's going to be a challenge for us, but I think it'll prepare us for January. We've really worked hard on our schedule to put us in a position, at the end of the year from an NCAA tournament standpoint. So, yeah, we're going to see real quick exactly what this team is made of from a toughness standpoint, and it was put in place for a reason. So we're eager for it.
So with those 5 starters returning, is that the reason why you wanted to have a schedule this demanding, or could a younger team handle this kind of a schedule?
Well, I would hope that any team could handle it. I think that's the reality of playing in the SEC come January, February. So obviously, though, it definitely went into play with who we felt like was returning. We do return 95% scoring. We've added 6 new faces. 9 of our 13 started Division I basketball last year. So it is an experienced roster, but it's a roster that's going to have to take some time to blend together and mesh together, learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. So I think a challenging schedule, if handled correctly, can really impact March for us in a positive way, and that's our goal, March.
Coach, with the experience coming back for this year's team, does that raise the level of expectations for what this team can achieve this season?
Well, I think I think we all have high expectations each and every year, but there's no question. I feel like our returning core made a commitment to come back to Alabama. We won 8 of our last 10, ended up having a 20-win season, made it to the quarterfinals of the NIT. And I think this team is hungry, and that's the momentum that carried us into the summer. So our leadership group, our core that's returning, and then we add some experience with the new faces, a talented roster. So the expectations are high, and I don't think anyone could expect more than we do of ourselves.
Coach, when you bring in 5 transfers, how has the transfer portal not only shaped the landscape of college basketball, but how you approach building a roster in the offseason?
Well, it's definitely changed the landscape. In a lot of ways, I think that, it's definitely a piece of what we look at in recruiting as far as how our roster is made up, what our needs are. And I think, we lost 78% of our scoring a year ago. So what last year's team accomplished, winning 20 games and having some of the big wins that they had, and now, I think that group decided that they love being at Alabama. They take a lot of pride in the front of their chest. So we feel like that's the best place in the country. And so they come back, and then they do a heck of a job in recruiting, come win with us. And we're excited about just the blend. But I think that, this is my 24th year as a head coach, and you have to understand how the game is evolving. And I think that we are allowing that to work for us and not against us. We're really working hard to recruit our roster at home and then keep our eyes open on the recruiting trail in all areas. So, we brought in a really talented freshman, Miss Tennessee basketball. We added some new faces from the transfer portal with the returning roster, and feel like we have added depth and versatility at every position.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Ashley. How you doing? I heard your voice, but I didn't see you. I like your hat.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Not only did you return a lot of scoring from last year, you returned a good chunk of your leadership. How has their leadership kind of affected not only the transfers, but the one freshman that you do have on the team, and just how they gel together on and off the court so far this season?
Well, they've done a great job. I always say association brings on assimilation. And, man, you look at the 4, and Jada, Meg, Hannah, and Brittany are all 4 working on their masters. So they're an amazing example in the classroom and in the community, and then you look at what they're doing on the floor. It's just their work ethic, you know. All have different strengths and weaknesses, from being action to vocal leaders, and they're a fun group to be around. And again, I just think it's huge when you can return experience in all areas of your program, not just on the court, but the classroom and the community. Like that group does, it's amazing to watch, because they truly are great examples and role models, and this team really has seemed to embrace each other, you know, and we're excited about it.
Can you just speak a little bit more to the character of the team and who this group is off the court?
Yeah, you know, we have 3 core values. When you talk about culture, character, it's grit, love, and gratitude. They are one of the grittiest, hard-working group of kids I've been around. You know, I just mentioned the classroom. It's the same way in the community and giving back, and we spend a lot of time. You know, and then they love each other. They love the front of their chest. They love the challenge I think that this year presents to them, and then just with a grateful heart. So when you talk about character, I think those 3 core values really emulate who this team's trying to be every day. You know, we've spent a lot of time away from the court. I think it's a lot bigger than 94 feet. You know, from taking a team retreat to meeting different ones for coffee to having a meal together. We went for pedicures a week ago. We're reading books right now. We're doing a book club. We're currently doing so many things that have nothing to do with the game. I think we're in a time and place in our sport. They don't really care how much I know. They want to know how much I care, and they want to understand one another. The quicker this team can understand one another, the better we will be, and I think that will impact 94 feet.
Saw the preseason rankings come out this morning. What was your reaction to see Alabama pick 10th?
I don't really ever pay attention to anything in the preseason. I appreciate you guys, but at the end of the day, we control our energy and effort. Let's see where we finish, and we can see if we think that's real. But, you know, I think I'm in my practice every day. I'm around this team every day. I understand what we've done in the recruiting process, so respect, but certainly don't take that serious. You know, what we do at the end of the year and how we finish is what's going to matter most, not what anybody else thinks of what's going on in our program.
In the back.
Thank you. Hi, Coach. Carrie Osep, WVTM here out of Birmingham. I want to ask you kind of a broad question just about the growth of women's sports. How do you feel that NIL is going to create more equity with sports and maybe even help the branding of women's sports as a whole, if you believe that?
Well, it's been amazing to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX. This is my 34th year in the game. I grew up with a mom who was my high school coach. I grew up in the gym and on the softball field in a small town in North Louisiana. And to see where we have gone just in my time and know where we can go, I think we've only scratched the surface. The support, you know, for women in sport has grown. Again, we still have work to do, but I'm so proud to be a small part of that, and how it has impacted our ability as leaders, as moms, whatever our chosen field of endeavor might be. But the NIL piece of it, I'm so happy that our players have the opportunity to have NIL. It definitely really helps from a financial standpoint that can impact them and their families while they're in school. And I think that it can only help impact women's sports in a positive way.
Hey, Coach. Can you talk more about the importance of welcoming those new faces? It seems like the team has put a lot of effort into that, and the specific ways that you think that's going to translate on the court.
Yeah, you know, I think the new faces, it's here, y'all. It's going to be a part. We're always going to all have new faces. I think with the portal, with the landscape and recruiting, it's going to be something each and every year that we're all trying to blend our rosters and bring them together, and how quickly can we get them on the same page. And so as much as we can do on the floor as well as off the floor to build the toughness, the character, the continuity, the cohesion, consistency, I think is really going to be important. So we've taken an approach. We've always done a lot of things together, but I think now the quicker and the faster that we can blend and mesh and spend time together as a team, not just, again, on the floor but off the floor, it's going to make a big difference and impact our season.
Coach, if you wouldn't mind, you have the transfers. Can you say a little bit about each transfer?
Sure. And I had somebody ask me earlier, well, who do you think is going to impact the most? And honestly, I think that's yet to be determined because I feel like they all can impact our roster. I think a year ago our depth really lacked. We had 3 games where we had COVID issues, didn't have a starter in January, probably wouldn't have gone 0-3. So the depth is such a big, important piece in this league. And I think the first one's Aaliyah Nye, started at Illinois. I think hit 69 threes on the year. She can really shoot the basketball. She has some experience, again, as a starter in the Big Ten. Sarah Ashley Barker started every game at Georgia a year ago. We're so happy she's back home. I'm excited to be in Birmingham today in her hometown. She's just a special kid. She's a competitor. She's tough. Brings a hard-nosed, old-school mentality to the defensive side of the ball. Loyal McQueen came to us last December, set out, started 21 games at Georgia Tech, brings a lot of energy, gives us a presence at the rim, which I thought we lacked at times in our backcourt last season. On finishing, she's a lefty, she's crafty, brings a lot. Ryan Cobbins started every game a year ago at North Dakota State, averaged double figures a game, strong physical forward. Jayana Cunningham, a 6'5" post out of West Virginia that came off the bench for West Virginia a year ago. Hard-nosed, ton of potential, has only scratched the surface on how good she can be. And then our freshman, Carly Weathers, Miss Tennessee basketball, has an IQ like no freshman I've coached in a long, long time. Really can shoot the basketball, will continue to grow and get stronger. So practices are really competitive. If you ask me today who my starting lineup was or is, it's interesting because I think we have a lot of different lineups based off who our opponent might be that we would start. So feel like we really like our depth, and practices are competitive. Injuries play a part, so it's really going to be important that we stay as healthy as we possibly can.
We have time for a couple of more questions. In the back, please.
Again, Coach, just talking about local recruits, I'm curious as a head coach, how important truly is that, and do you emphasize that in recruiting to try to get athletes that, they can bring that home fan base when they play on the court?
Well, I think it's always important for each and every one of us in our home state to have that presence in recruiting. Yesterday was the first day of official practice in the great state of Alabama, and excited to send a lot of text out and to post that from our account, and wish so many high school coaches in this state a great first day. When you look at our roster, to have Hannah Barber from Homewood and Sarah Ashley Barker from Smain Park right here in Birmingham, it's important. We're always going to work really, really hard to keep our kids at home in state, and then we're going to branch out around. And I think that, to be really good in this league, you have to recruit from a national standpoint and certainly a regional standpoint. So we feel good about how we built our roster with that. But our philosophy is always to keep everybody at home in Alabama.
Going right back here.
Coach, you mentioned earlier that you guys are doing a lot of outside of practice stuff. I just wanted to get a little bit more information about the book club and like the book that you guys are reading and just how you went about choosing that book and kind of how that kind of helps build team morale and team togetherness.
Yeah, spending a lot of time on leadership in different areas that we're faced with in our world today, and how we can all be better, how we can love each other, how we can support each other. So it's something that it's been interesting to watch our team really embrace. I think our first book was, You Are the Team. Then we read The Energy Bus. We're currently working with Win in the Dark. I think Joshua Metcalf, he does a really good job. I like his books. So that's the one we're on right now. And what we tried to do is let a different staffer, a different player, pick the book. I kind of started with You're the Team at our fall retreat that we took. And then Coach Janice is working currently on Win in the Dark, and Hannah Barber actually has the next book. So she hadn't revealed to me. I keep asking her what book because she loves to read. So spending a lot of time once a week on discussing certain chapters.
All right, last question.
Coach, you're returning 95% of the scoring, but a lot of newcomers. Is it a challenge to handle so much depth?
I don't think it's been a challenge. It's just made practices really competitive. You know, the thing about competition, it only, as we say, you know, helps each tide rise. So we're about rising tides together. And the thing, we have our practice guys too, so we've tried to be really smart as well. 30 or 40 days from our first playing date, it kind of gets challenging and at times can be a grind. So we've tried to make sure we find that happy medium with being in shape and being ready to go come November 7th, but also not wearing them down. And the kids have done a really good job of competing. We've changed up our lineups. We had a scrimmage against Louisiana Tech this past Saturday, so that was a great opportunity to see a different jersey, have different lineups, and excited about what we saw. And certainly a lot of things we can improve on. That's what this time of year is about.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you all. Roll Tide.